Hey, let's take a trip back to 1978 and look at a series that featured a character that I really liked and was really surprised to find out that its premiere issue or series only lasted 5 issues. I guess his popularity didn't hit everyone like a firestorm. See what I did there? So, welcome to Kevin's commentary on comics. Yes, we're going back to 1978 to take a look at the first issue of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. In fact, we're going to cover the entire series. Yes, all 5 to 6 issues of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. We're going to cover that over this episode, next episode, maybe a third. We'll kind of see how it goes. Probably a third. I don't think I can do this in less than 3 because I do like to gab a lot about the comics. So yes, this series only lasted 5 published issues. There was a 6th issue that was drawn, written, and inked, but not colored, or at least the version I saw wasn't, that came out. I think it was actually published first maybe as a series of backup features in the Flash, and then also as part of a trade paperback that was issued in 2011, Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. I happened to get it via Comixology, where I decided to get and read these issues. When I got the 5th issue, they threw in the black and white version of what would have been issue number 6. So I did get to read the long-lost 6th issue, I guess, of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. Now, the series did not survive what is known as the DC implosion of 1978. And this is where they were not doing really well in sales. They really were losing a lot to Marvel, who, hey, let's face it, they were a juggernaut in the 70s, especially probably 75 to about 83 or so. And so they decided to cancel 24 or more continuing ongoing series and planned projects, and they kind of redefined and rebooted their universe down to 50 or so issues. Does that sound familiar? So Firestorm, the Nuclear Man series came and went all in 1978, but then in 1982 there was a new series brought out, Fury of Firestorm. It lasted until 1990, and I'm pretty sure I read them all or have them all. It's very possible I may have gotten bored with the series at some point and canceled stopped reading it prior to its last issue. But it did have a nice, successful run. I mean, 8 years is pretty good. Unfortunately, though, Comixology only has a couple issues from that run, and they're the ones that related to the Legends miniseries that I reviewed previously on Kevin's commentary on comics. So I'm hoping they'll get the full run, because I really would like to go back and revisit that series. I really enjoyed Pat Broderick's art on it. And if I remember correctly, the writing was pretty good too. But this was a long time ago, folks. I could be wrong. But I would like it if that was out and available to me on Comixology. But we'll have to wait and see if that happens or not. But were the first 5/6 issues of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, bad enough to warrant being canceled so soon? Well, let's find out by taking a look at the first issue, Make Way for Firestorm. This was written by Jerry Conway and art done by Al Milgrom. Matter of fact, these are the guys who did all 5/6 issues of the book. Now, what's interesting is you look at this splash page, you've got a brand new series featuring a brand new character, and there he is right there on the splash page, flying around town, going, yahoo, look at me, I'm Firestorm. That's kind of an odd way to open it. Usually you open up with the alter ego before they get the powers, and then you find out, how they got them. But this case, they decide, hey, here's Firestorm. He's showing off some of his powers, like changing his atomic structure to fly through this helicopter. And then we get a flashback, didn't take too long, of how he actually got his powers. And we see Ronnie Raymond, high school jock, who is actually bullied. And this is an interesting change of events. Normally it's the nerdy guy who gets the superpowers and being bullied by the high school jock, but in this case, they juxtapose these positions, and you've got the high school jock that is actually being bullied by the nerdy kid in school. Weird. He has all the typical high school problems of making good grades, getting the girl. Doreen Day was her name. And, just typical high school jock type stuff. And then we switch to Martin Stein, who has just basically finished up building this fully automated nuclear power plant, and which is actually typical of these type of situations. He had a former partner who is mad, who claims Stein stole all of his ideas. This guy being Denton Black, who storms in and says, "Stein, you stole my stuff. You're good." That's standard stuff. And of course, Stein's like, "Yeah, you're full of crap. Get away from me." But this nuclear plant that's opening up is making the local news. There's a group of protesters called the Coalition to Resist Atomic Power. Ronnie thinks, hey, that's a great way to impress my girl. I'm going to go protest with them. So he does, really thinking about what he's going to protest or what he's going to do. Next thing you know, he's in with these guys. They're breaking into the power plant. He's like, hey, wait a minute, guys. I didn't sign up for this. So somebody might get hurt. He tries to stop the guys, fails. Stein comes out. He tries to stop the guys, fails. The bad guy protesters throw both of them into some room with some dynamite. Also there on the scene is Denton Black. He's, a little farther away from these guys. But at any rate, dynamite goes off. A nuclear explosion happens. It merges the two of them together. And then bloom, boom, and bloom, you've got Firestorm. Looking pretty cool here without its costume on and carefully placed flame hiding those private parts. So Ronnie, who's obviously thinking this is him and he's in control, says, wow, look at this, I'm naked. Materializes a costume around him, straight out of nothing. He figures out he has the ability to do that because he sees right off the bat that he can see into the atomic structure of stuff, and he repairs a wall and then he makes his own costume. Now, how he's actually able, so he can see him, great. If I could see atoms, that's awesome. But how do I know how to change that stuff around? Seems like that would be knowledge, but maybe that's where Stein comes in, as they discover they're sharing the same body. And the reason why Ronnie is in control is because Stein was unconscious when the blast happened. Makes sense. Now, I do have to say, at this point, I was actually impressed with Al Milgram's artwork on this. I'm not a huge fan of Milgram. He was actually let go from DC during the aforementioned DC implosion, and I guess he went over to Marvel. I remember distinctly his work on West Coast Avengers, which I really did not like. Just a style I didn't care for. I can't really criticize anybody who draws or writes comics because I can't do either. So it's just a matter of taste. His style didn't appeal to me at that time, but I really like it on this, from what I read with these first 5 to 6 issues. So they, or him, Firestorm, goes after the bad guys, stops them from blowing something else up, and does so mainly by absorbing the energy of the blast right into them. The bad guys go to jail, and Firestorm's a hero. He flies off, and he happens to catch himself in a glass window, and he sees what he looks like now, and he's like, oh my god, I'm not Ronnie Raymond. Oh no, why is this happening to me? The shock of that causes him to split. Now, I'd just like to say something. Ronnie didn't know what he looked like as Firestorm, right? But he created this costume for himself, and he said he was going to be a superhero. He even came up with the cool name of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. But he made a costume that didn't have a mask. It's just that headband thing that comes over his face, and actually, luckily, showed off his fire hair. So that means he consciously decided, hey, I'm going public with my persona. But he obviously didn't know what he looked like. He said, obviously doesn't look like Ronnie Raymond, and he's surprised by that fact, but yet he managed to make a costume that showed his face, so I guess he was okay with everybody knowing who he was. But at any rate, they split apart. Ronnie, fully aware of what has just happened. Martin Stein, however, no idea. He feels like he had just blacked out. He didn't know where he was. He doesn't know what's happened. Ronnie says, well, hey, it's okay. Here's a friend. And they go off, and they're wondering whether they'll ever be Firestorm again. Now, this part about Stein not remembering that he was Firestorm or part of Firestorm, that was a kicker to me, because I didn't know that was ever an angle. I don't remember that in the second series, because I totally have no recollection, just like he does, of him not being aware that he's Firestorm after they split apart. But for now, I'm Kevin. That was my commentary about Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, #1. Did you happen to read this issue when it came out? Did you know anything about Firestorm? Obviously, no one did until this issue came out. Did you like the character back in the 70s? And did you read this and think, oh, great, man, I can't wait for issue number 6, only to discover that it never comes out? And back in those days, the comic just didn't come out. You didn't really find out unless maybe you read the letters page or something, or maybe the Comics Buyer's Guide. How would you know that that got canceled? If you were one of those people, leave a comment below. That'd be great. I would love to hear firsthand what your thoughts were on that revelation that this was canceled. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's chock full of superhero standard cliches, but this was 78, so they really probably weren't that big of a cliche at that point in time. And, it did have that little switcheroo of the jock being bullied by the nerd, which I still think is interesting. But what were your thoughts about that? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to go into issues 2 and 3 in the next episode. I don't think I'll get to 4 and 5 in that same episode. But if you want to see those, hey, click on that subscribe button if you haven't done it already. Certainly do appreciate all the new subscribers. So go out, make it a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.